58%. That's how much lower click-through rate is for the top results on Google when there's an AI overview. This is 68% higher than what it was 10 months ago. If you haven't caught on yet, Google doesn't want you to leave the platform anymore when you're doing searches. They want everything to happen there, meaning they're gonna get your traffic. They don't want to share it anymore. They don't want to give it away for free. This isn't all bad. SEO has traditionally been the highest leverage channel to get organic visitors to your website. 1000% more effective than social media, according to Bright Edge. The problem is, SEO is pretty skewed toward whoever comes first with good quality content. Meaning, if you're new and you're trying to get into the space, it takes you a long while to actually start to see results from your efforts. The great opportunity that comes our way is that AI is not as lazy as people, meaning where someone might just click the first three links on Google to get the answer to their question, AI is a lot more thorough and actually will be a lot more specific in the queries they're going to be using to search for the information anyway. In this video, I will be telling you my 3-step strategy to actually capitalize on this opportunity. First, we need to understand if we still should be putting effort in SEO or not. Second, we need to figure out how to make sure AI knows about us in the search results. And third, we need to get the AI to actually cite us, because being picked up and being cited are two different playing fields, but they're equally important. So should you still do SEO in 2026? Yes. Don't even think about it. It's the most effective channel to get organic traffic by far. AI is eating away at it, but it's still giving crazy results. So yes, we're gonna still do SEO in 2026. That's not the question. AI even uses it to base its citations on. So if you're not doing SEO, you're not getting seen by AI and you're not showing up anyway. Now that that's out of the way, let's just take a moment to understand the 3 types of searches people do online. First is navigational, people trying to get to Facebook. We don't care about that. Second is informational. That's the segment that's being eaten away by AI right now. AI overview is present in 99% of the cases for informational searchers. They really shy away from the other two kinds. Third is commercial. That's really the nerve of the war, honestly. At the end of the day, we're doing SEO because we want to convert people, have them actually be customers for us. So good news is commercial is pretty much safe from AI for now. Where I think the things are going to go, basically, that AI is eventually going to get to commercial as well. ChatGPT has already demonstrated strong intent to do this with their direct checkout feature that was available for Etsy shops for a while. They built a whole protocol for it. It was called ACP. They partnered up with Stripe to do it and Shopify. So it was already attempted. Google shows clear signs of wanting to do this with their universal cart available directly on Google for you to do your purchases without ever leaving the website. So instead of like browsing several items on different websites, you can do everything from Google and like check out the transaction. One thing you should definitely be aware of is Google recently added LLMs.txt to their Lighthouse check. Google Lighthouse is a tool they made for developers to check if their websites are actually following best practices that are recommended to follow by Google. And one of them now extends to agentic browsing audits. And the first check is checking if LLMs.txt is present in the root directory of your website. So what is LLMs.txt? It's an immersion convention. You can read on it more here. I'll put the link in the description. But basically, it's solving the problem that the context window, meaning how much AI can actually remember, isn't large enough to handle most websites in their entirety. So it's proposing to put in a text file markdown instructions on what the website's background is, how to navigate through it, and relevant links. They're also proposing to provide a clean markdown version of those pages at the same URL at the original page, but with .md appended. I don't know if you need to be doing that yet, but for sure, since Google is adding it to its agentic browsing audits, it wouldn't hurt to be adding llms.txt to your root website. So it looks something like this for the format. And if you go on this link in the description, you can even get an example of how it should be structured. If you're using any kind of AI, you can just copy paste the AI into the copy paste this example into your AI of choice and give it access to your website and ask it to fill it out for you. Should go pretty smooth. Now I want to cover very briefly battle tested ECU. Moving on, I'd like to cover very. All right, moving on. We need to cover what's already proven in SEO, which is best practices to allow Google to index your search engine. Because at the end of the day, the LLMs are basically just fancier versions of the crawlers you used to have before, meaning they can actually start to understand the content instead of just looking for specific keywords or structures. Um, so robots.txt is a file you can add to your website root, which allows you to specify which AI crawlers should be allowed to crawl the website or not. Meaning, theoretically, you could be excluding OpenAI and Anthropic from your website. They do claim they respect these specifications. I wouldn't recommend you do that because if you're being crawled and cited by the AIs and losing clicks, that's a better problem in my opinion than just them treating you like you don't exist, because the user is still going to get their answer from the AI, just going to be associated to another company or competitor entirely. You won't even be in the conversation. So I don't think moving forward, restricting access to your website is going to be the play. Next is the sitemap.xml. This is, instead of restricting access, rather enabling easier navigation of your website. Basically, it just tells the crawler the discovery map of your website, listing all of the URL keys. It's important that it stays simple, clean, and complete, and especially up to date. Now, a very important technical layer that those familiar with SEO will be aware of. Basically, websites are rendered in two different ways. There's static information that doesn't need any compute to render, and there's dynamic information and display that's going to need the client of the user to actually render some code. The problem is usually crawlers are not equipped with the tools to run code on the fly. So all of the informational content you're going to put in um, dynamic code using JavaScript is going to be invisible essentially to the crawler and to the AI. So ChatGPT, CloudBot, Perplexity won't be able to see anything in your website, and they just move on to the next link. So it's very important that all of your information that's going to satisfy the user is going to be static. And then if you have something else that needs to be dynamic, that is not really crucial to the understanding of the question. Finally, just to nail the technical basics, here are some pretty broad guidelines to follow for your HTML. If you're not too technical, this can get complex. I recommend you take the time to do some research about each one of these and understand exactly where they appear in your website. Because this is essentially, if you're not doing the llms.txt and the markdown files, going to be the way to make it easy to navigate your content for the AIs. I want to give you some insights I got from a Princeton GEO study on how to get cited more frequently with AI. They found that when credible sources are cited, and there are statistics in the article, there's more or less a 40% increased chance of being cited by AI search engines. Also, including expert quotation would boost this by 22%. What's important here is like smaller, lower ranked sites show the biggest gains. This is very expected because smaller sites tend to be less credible on their own. So really throwing in the extra high authority sources with actual statistics and quotes really helps make the AI assess that you are more trustworthy. Finally, you should be structuring your each article to be as quotable as possible, meaning in the first paragraph, even first 40 to 60 words, you should have the answer already clearly displayed and listed at the top of the article. And then every following header should be a follow up question on the initial one. For example, if you had an article detailing how to choose the ripest watermelon ever, for example, uh, you might start by explaining what makes a watermelon ripe or not. And then, as a follow up question, you would have something like, oh, if this specific circumstance you listed it doesn't apply, does it mean that the watermelon is not ripe systematically or not? And you could keep going down, go deeper, and each time answer the obvious follow ups. It is recommended to have one cited data point every 100 to 50 to 200 words for the Princeton GEO study once again. Finally, here's your cheat sheet of do's and don'ts. The only thing I'll explain here is that banking on llms.txt for citation very smart right now. It's good to have it, but don't expect it to heavy lifting for you. You'll need to do a lot of work on your content and the actual website structure to even have a shot at being cited. So yeah, don't expect it to be a magic fix. But if you follow everything that we discussed, you should be better than 90% of people when it comes to AI readiness.